Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about my power hammers that I have made, my power hammer plans that I sell, and a little bit more about my main shop power hammers that I use. So it's come up into conversation here recently. I've been asked a lot of questions about, am I happy with the hammers that I've made? Do I use them on a daily basis? How long are these things going to hold up? Yada, 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 the list goes on. A lot around, kind of, I guess I would say the credibility of them as a power hammer. Are they worth your time making? And my answer to that is simply yes. If you don't have a power hammer now and you don't have the billfold to spend $5,000 on one, then yes, they're worth your precious time to make them. So this is a bit, this is from my perspective. So second point I like to point out, I do not make power hammer plans for myself. I don't need a power hammer. I have a shop power hammer. I'm building a 400-pound power hammer that is going to be a lot of the same thing you see here. Some elements are going away, some new elements I'm bringing in because I can do that. I have a shop capable of being able to make my own tooling like that. So I'm going to be making me a new shop power hammer. Does that mean there's anything wrong with this bad boy? No, there's not. This has serviced me very well. I have made more than 10 times my money back out from underneath this power hammer, so it's paid off for itself. So is that worth it to you? Well, that comes down to your price point that you're looking at and your tools and the availability of materials in your area to build your own power hammer. Now, all the power hammer designs that I have designed, I have built, I have put out there, you see guys making knockoffs of, guys that are doing their own thing with them, which is cool doing that too. People who followed my design loosely or followed it to the letter. As far as I know, most of those people are enjoying their power hammers, okay? Most of them are enjoying their power hammers. I haven't heard any direct negative feedback about them yet. So that'll bring me into my third point. My third point is about expectations of what a power hammer can do. If you think a power hammer is just a big smashy bit and that's all it does is it's just a big smashy thing and it just smashes things, that is an incorrect way of looking at a power hammer. You need to build a power hammer for your purposes. If you're using mostly small stock, which most smiths do, about 1 inch or under, something along the realm of a 25-pound ram weight will be more than sufficient for you in your shop. It'll be a small size hammer. You'll be able to do whatever you want with it. Now, does that mean you're going to be able to hammer out 2-inch hammer billets or 3-inch by 3-inch hammer? No, you're not. That's just not going to work. You're not going to be able to work 4 pounds of steel under the hammer at a time. It just won't work. It's pushing it to its limit. The Hardy hammer is a lightweight hammer that I sell. It mounts on top of the anvil, hence lightweight. You can't have a 100-pound ram in a power hammer that you're going to lift and set on an anvil top. You can construct one that uses an anvil as the base or an actual anvil and then a die, but then again, that's not really what the Hardy hammer was designed to be. The Hardy hammer was designed to be a great portable option for guys that do shows, for guys with disabilities because of the way that the clutch works, that you can work the clutch remotely from the actual hammer itself and run it at a variable speed. And so that is a help to people who have handicaps and things like that, with no legs to be able to press down on clutch buttons. The beam hammer, I had that in my shop. I ran that hammer for the period of about 2 months, about 60, almost 90 days, and I loved it. I loved the big dies on it so much I was sad when I sold it. I ended up selling it, so this way I could fund some other projects here around the shop and much needed tooling. That's what prompted me to build bigger dies or bigger broad area surface area dies for this power hammer. This is my main shop power hammer. It started with a 37-pound ram. I added an additional in total about 40 pounds to that, almost, give or take, by the time I beefed everything up. So now I have about a 77-pound, 75-pound ram on this thing. And I beefed up the bottom die a little bit, but there's nothing underneath. I didn't really beef up the anvil, so to speak. Again, I wanted to test this to see if it worked. I needed it to do immediate tooling. Again, Loving it. It runs good. People ask for an update. What do I think about them? I like them. If you haven't been a part of the live streams here lately, I'll put some links right up here in the cards that shows this thing in action. And it shows it with the older spring. I ended up upgrading the spring to a lot thicker coil spring. So what am I getting at here? Because I know there's somebody right now getting ready to write. Get to the point, Roy. What is your point in all of this video? My point is, if you're building a homemade power hammer, you have the freedom to make it suit your needs. The drawings and the designs that I sell over at blacksmithpdfs.com, where you can go there and you can buy these plans, they are meant there to take and not guide you through the entire process of building your hammer, but to give you a good foundational starting point. They are drawings of the hammers that I have built, that I know work in that configuration. That's not going to handhold you and walk you through the whole process. If you are a shoddy welder, don't undertake any power hammer build or press build. Have a welder do it for you. Cut all the pieces and parts and fittings, and then have somebody who's competent at welding do that for you. So again, some could say this is kind of getting into a rant video. I'm trying not to make that it. I just wanted to catch everybody up, kind of what the deal is with the homemade power hammer thing. Now, some could argue that it would be better to just go ahead and buy a hammer or buy the biggest hammer you can get into. I am starkly against that. I don't believe so. That's just my opinion of it. Of course, now that I have been a professional blacksmith now for 7 years, I've been doing it for 10 years, I kind of know what I want in a hammer. But to spend 20 grand on something that you don't even know whether it's actually, you end up forging 1/4-inch rod under it for the rest of your life. It's an overkill. It's too much maintenance. When a part does go down, you have a very expensive part that you have to replace. A home built hammer, I can rebuild anything on this hammer basically in shop and in-house. So that is a value of having a home built hammer. Some of the negatives, there's a limitation to what you can do with a home built hammer. As you'll see when I build my 400-pound version of it, I think at that stage you're basically pushing the limits of what you can do in a home-based shop. This is definitely not a hobby for me. This is a professional shop, and I have tooling that some guys necessarily don't have in their shops. Again, it won't be a hammer for everyone. It's not just for the guy that's the weekend warrior. It's for somebody who really has the business aspect of blacksmithing in mind when they undertake that. So what can you do if you don't have a power hammer? And I hope you guys will stick with me here. What can you do if you don't have a power hammer, or your power hammer is undersized and you just like, oh man, I just don't have the money to buy a big expensive hammer? It is really good to take and get on good terms and work your butt off at a good relationship with somebody who does have a big power hammer, or somebody that is doing it from a professional sense, that you can possibly use their hammer from time to time when you're having problems, okay? That means you're not taking advantage of them, but you're providing value, whether you work in their shop for a week for trade of hammer time or whatever it is. It's good to have a couple buddies that have made those investments in their business around blacksmithing, or your club has made that investment, your local blacksmithing chapter or guild or club. It's really good to stay in touch with people like that, because I have been saved boatloads of times by guys that I know that have big hearts and say, hey Roy, yeah, you hung yourself on this job, let me help you. And that's really been appreciated. So not everyone needs a 400-pound hammer, not everyone needs a 1,000-pound hammer. You don't need a giant steam hammer, you don't need a small steam hammer. A lot of times just a simple home build option can work well for you. So if you don't have a power hammer, don't let that discourage you. You probably need to work at your hand techniques first and foremost. If you're starting to get into where you're doing a lot of repetitious things for like business, yes, a power hammer is going to be in your future and probably be one of the first tools that you buy and or build. Brings me to my last statement, and this is how we're going to wrap this up. I get asked all the time, when are you going to build a press? When are you going to build a press? When are you going to build a press? I'm going to answer that very frank. If I ever build a press, it will be done with engineer stamped drawings. And the reason why is a power hammer may maim you if something goes wrong, but a press will kill you if something goes wrong. And that is a bit beyond what I believe is acceptable for a hobbyist blacksmith to undertake. To just go weekend warrior it and go make a press. It just is. You're dealing with thousands upon thousands of pounds of pressure, hundreds of thousands of pounds of pressure on being exerted of force on a piece, and all it takes is 1 second of that piece to kick out of there, and you be standing in the wrong place, and you're a dead man before you hit the ground. So when I build one, it'll be a completely engineered drawing. It'll be a lot more expensive drawing and prints and designs. When I come around to that point, it'll be a lot more expensive of a plan, just because I'm going to pay to make sure that what I doodle up, what I make, is mechanically sound and safe for guys to use. Undertake any of these projects at your own risk. You are in your garage, you know your welder, you know your capabilities, I do not. If you don't feel comfortable with something, ask questions. You can always email me at christcenteredforge@gmail.com. It takes me about 2 weeks to get back to you. I know it sucks, that's just how it is. We get about 4,000 emails a month, so you're in the pile, and it's a lot to keep up with. We love you guys out there. We thank you all so much for the people who have been supporting us, buying power hammer plans and things like that, and all the tooling, and everybody who's been in the live streams and all the videos. We greatly appreciate every last one of our subscribers. If it's your first video on this channel, consider subscribing, hitting that little subscribe button, and as everybody tells you, the little jingly bell for notifications. I can kind of suggest against that because we put out new videos each and every day, 7 days a week, and there is over 938 of them as the recording of this video on the channel for you to breeze through. So once again, if you're interested in plans, go check out our website at blacksmithpdfs.com. If you're not interested in building your own thing, or you think it's hokey, it's okay. Save up for a professionally built hammer and it will do you just fine. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit of a rant, a little bit of a ramble. Sorry for that. Longer video, but sayonara. As always, God bless you. We'll catch you on the next one.